Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So as far as going outside, I think there's a lot of confusion that people have about going outside. What are some things we should be looking out for there?
It's funny, I've never been parodied in all my time in journalism, so it's kind of fun, right? It was poking fun at another show I worked for called Amanpour and Company. Since we were already researching satire and misinformation, I decided to corner these two guys and ask them to explain the joke to me. Jeremy Levick and Rajat Suresh are comedians and satirists living in Brooklyn.
If you're a comedian or a satirist, which is like a, I guess, somewhat pretentious sounding word that I'm not going to use to describe. No, we are.
Yeah.
You guys recently spoofed Amanpour and Company. What gave you that idea?
We were like sort of consuming a lot of that type of video, and
was it basically like, oh, hey, there's a brown guy on there? I know a brown guy. You can play that.
No, it was a much smarter approach than just that.
It's like, it's really funny for us to just like say a Jeff Foxworthy joke and like be really serious about it. I saw a man driving on the highway and he hit a deer. And he called it fast food.
Right.
So we're seeing how satire is being used to actively disinform people. Did you ever think it would be used this way?
That's always a risk with satire. It helps if you have like, you know, a big name that's behind your content, like The Onion or SNL. When you're doing stuff and releasing it yourself over the internet, especially, there aren't those sort of labels that precede the content. So there is a risk of spreading misinformation and disinformation.
Satire getting mistaken for real news. You see this everywhere online. Take this, for example, an attention-grabbing headline tweeted out by The New Yorker. Trump optimistic about winning Nobel Prize in medicine. Several commenters responded, appearing to believe the information was true. Some hoped it was from The Onion. It wasn't, but it was satire. How can we tell? Well, click through to the article and you'll see that The New Yorker has gone to great lengths to label it as satire. They do this with everything from the Borowitz Report, which is a satire column. Even the thumbnail on Twitter has a clue in the column's tagline. Quote, not the news. This is an example of a well-labeled article from a known satire website, and still people were fooled. So what happens when a piece of satire has no context? Worse yet, what happens when that context has been deliberately removed? That's what one reporter found in a network of websites that takes pieces of satire from their original context, strips them of any labels or disclaimers, and then republishes them as genuine-looking news articles.
So we have seen hundreds of these sites proliferate since around December, and they're getting a lot of shares on Facebook. One site that we were monitoring was regularly one of the most popular sources of false news on Facebook. It was getting hundreds of thousands of engagements on each of the articles it posted. While copying satire sounds like, on its face, a pretty basic way to spread misinformation or disinformation, these sites are run by people that really do know what they're doing.
So why do they do it?
PolitiFact has investigated hundreds of these websites, and on almost all of them, there are Google AdSense trackers. So that means that any click on that website will go toward that website's Google ad impressions. So essentially, the more people see that article, the more the owner of the website gets paid.
How do you tell when something is, well, a joke versus something is real news?
So you always want to do as much research on a website as possible before sharing something. So always go to that website and find their About page. If there's not a lot of information there, or there are spelling errors, or it seems kind of generic, that might be a signal to you that the website's not reliable. And when in doubt, if you can't find anything out about the website, just don't share it. It's totally fine to not share something on social media. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Satire is meant to provoke, to get an emotional reaction, to catch your attention, maybe get a laugh or change your mind, but satire is not meant to spread misinformation. So don't get fooled online. Read beyond the headline. If something seems so absurd that it might have been written by a couple of guys like our friends Rajat and Jeremy, maybe it was. Until next time, don't spread fake news, keep it real. I'm Hari Srinivasan. This was Take on Fake.
My mom really wanted to explain to every single replier who didn't get it.
So the answer to your question is to get a mom that will
I would say,
You're
yeah.
gonna say, wow, he had to have his mom explain the joke.
Right.
That's pretty
I think I should give my mom like a burner account or something so it can't be traced to me.